The shutdown goes on. Oh my goodness gracious. We've got, what is this, the second month now of I'm calling it the Schumer shutdown, for goodness sakes. And you know what? It's not good. It's not good. Before we get to that, a quick note from conservatives for lower healthcare. President Trump's doing what no other president has done before, ladies and gentlemen. He is holding Big Pharma accountable. I love it, right? For ripping off everyday Americans and businesses, small businesses. Big Pharma has its army of lobbyists out there working overtime to keep Americans paying the world's highest prescription drug prices. Imagine that. They've already hiked prices on hundreds of medicines, believe it or not, this year, while flooding us with billions of dollars in misleading ads to the point where, well, I don't really want to watch the nightly news with my children, period, because of the bias and the editing, et cetera, as we've been discussing. But also there are those ads, and you know which ones I'm talking about. Whereas yet Big Pharma pushes government mandates designed to stack the deck in their favor. Their goal in Washington is pretty simple: escape accountability, block free market competition, and jack up outrageous prices, right? Win, 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 win for them. That means more government intrusion. It means bigger profits for them, and it means higher costs for families and businesses. Well, conservatives for lower healthcare, we're trying to fight that here. I've partnered with them on this effort because we're warning you right now that Big Pharma and its agenda would actually stick Americans and employers with billions of dollars in higher premiums and drug costs. And President Trump, I can promise you, he's not backing down. His administration's cracking down on drug companies that gouge everyday Americans and mislead patients with their obnoxious advertising. Meanwhile, you get conservatives in Congress that are introducing some pretty good reforms to stop Big Pharma's games that block generics and keep prices high. So join us in rejecting Big Pharma's agenda. I want you to go over, I put it on the screen, pharmawindfall.com today to help lower drug prices. We need them low, low, low. How low can you go? The shutdown is in the second month now, and Mike Johnson is making it really clear. These guys are lousy. Think about what they're willing to risk. You have SNAP benefits running out. You have our military members not getting paid. And it's all because they're going to fight $1.5 trillion in spending for illegals. Watch.
The Schumer and Jeffries and their colleagues fear political retribution from the far-left activists in their party more than they fear the consequences of keeping the government closed for weeks on end. They fear that personally for their own political future, and they care more about that than they care about SNAP benefits flowing to hungry families, about air traffic controllers being paid so they can keep the skies safe, Border Patrol troops, and all the rest.
Oh, of course. I mean, they don't want any Border Patrol troops. Don't kid yourself. Listen, this is not good. This is not good. I think we all know it's not good. It's not a good position to be in. But, you know, when you're going to sit there and fight all day long for the $1.5 trillion that you want going to illegal healthcare, I would just say you got to do a little bit of soul searching, okay? Because that's not where the rest of America is. It's just definitely not where the rest of America is. And yes, you have SNAP benefits running out. And there's one woman, the representative from Massachusetts, Ayanna Pressley, which is one of the original squad members. She gets up there on MSNBC and she's going on and on about how dare the Trump administration want to actually require proof of work or seeking work when you get your SNAP benefits. It's like, excuse me? Like, people really are delusional. You think the government owes you everything. Watch her clip. Try and keep the blood pressure down. I'm working on it.
Congresswoman, I think the administration has acknowledged or is tacitly acknowledging that this is becoming a problem for them, particularly with the split screen of the Gatsby party at the same time that Americans were about to lose their food assistance. But the way that they've been handling this is by trying to deflect. In fact, we have some sound from Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins talking about how they are rooting out fraud. Let's take a listen.
Good. Get rid of the fraud.
It is time to drastically reform this program so that we can make sure that those who are truly needy, truly vulnerable, are getting what they need, and the rest of the corruption goes away and we can serve the American taxpayer. So we want to, number one, most important, get the government open, make sure the people that really need this money are going to get it. But guess what? There's a new sheriff in town. His name is Donald Trump, and this program will be reformed. We will hold people accountable, and we will be able to help those who really need it.
I guess one way to keep people from fraudulently claiming benefits is by making sure no one can claim benefits, no?
First and foremost, this is the most corrupt administration in history.
Oh, please.
And then they're cruel enough to create work requirements for hungry people to get SNAP. But for the last month, they have...
Okay, I'm sorry, that's cruel? It's cruel to have work requirements to get SNAP. I mean, I'm sorry, like, last I checked, we're a capitalist nation, right? We're a capitalist country. It's actually propelled us to have one of the highest standards of living in the world. I mean, hey, Ayanna, I got a great country for you. You can head maybe to Iran with Whoopi, or maybe if we really want to embrace the socialism thing, you just chuck it on down to Venezuela, 2.5 hours from Miami or so, and you can live happily ever after there while they give you all the handouts you want. How would that be? Please.
Showing up for work, and they've been on a taxpayer-funded vacation. You know, I've been in Congress 7 years. I came in as a freshman in the 118th in the midst of a government shutdown.
Gosh,
the first congressional class to come in the midst of...
Tough to listen to. Tough to look at. Just saying. Anyway, another one that's kind of tough to listen to and tough to look at would be one Mr. Hakeem Jeffries, who's really in over his head. And I don't have the sombrero for him today, but he's trying to once again blame someone else.
It's not clear to me what's going to be on the floor of the Senate this week, but what we have said as House Democrats is that we will consider anything bipartisan that emerges from the Senate in good faith, that reopens the government, that is bipartisan in nature, that makes life better for the American people, and of course that decisively addresses the Republican healthcare crisis that's crushing people all throughout this country. In rural America, working class America, urban America, the heartland of America, small town America, and black and brown communities throughout America. The Republican healthcare crisis is crushing people. And that's why Democrats continue to stand up for everyday Americans.
You know the sombrero's coming. You know it's happening. I don't have it for you here today, but just think the mariachi music. And suddenly his name is going from Hakeem to Jose, I guess. Anyway, they've had a lot of fun with this one at the White House because it's like they just, I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but they're so far off from reality. I mean, think about the climate change stuff, right? We just had a Gallup poll the other day that showed only 2% of Americans consider it to be the number one issue. And yeah, they were fighting hard for climate change as much as they could, all while taking their private jets everywhere. Or think about other things like, oh, I don't know, your daughter in her high school track team has to run against somebody who was a naturally born man. Like, how is that okay? Like, how is that normal? Oh, we have 250 pronouns. That's the BBC. They have 250 pronouns in their human resources directory. I mean, this is wild. It's like they just have no common sense, which is why I told you Common Sense, the movie, would really actually do pretty well. Look, you know who has common sense? American voters. And this is what's showing up in the polling over and over and over and over again.
It hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give, and electorally speaking, when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
Now, we say their position is getting better. With whom?
Yeah, okay, with whom? So I think it's two groups that it's so important to keep an eye on. All right, changing the Republican Congress's net approval rating versus pre-shutdown. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this, the net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this, among independents. It's up 8 points as well. So we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle. And this is the type of math that if you're Republicans, you like to see, right? Because something could rally the base but alienate those in the middle, or something could rally those in the middle but alienate the base. But the truth is, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is the Republican brand has actually gotten better among independents, and it's also gotten better among Republicans as well, that Republican brand when it comes to those in Congress. So again, what's the electoral reason that Republicans would give in at this point?
And Democrats.
So the reality is, like, it's popular with everyone. It's everybody in the middle, and it's with your base. So, like, it's actually pretty good if you think about it for the Republicans. In the meantime, as I said, SNAP benefits are ending today, and this has become a big issue. In fact, if you look at TikTok, there have been a lot of things being reported. If you look even at my own Shorts feed, I've shared some of this stuff with you, but let me there's a good montage I want to show you from Will Cain's show over on Fox. Pretty interesting. He's put together like a whole bunch of these things from TikTok, people talking about what they're going to do with their SNAP benefits running out.
There's an interesting trend on social media right now. It's a trend where black men are suggesting the expiration of SNAP benefits might actually be a blessing in disguise.
This program is keeping a lot of people unmarried, uneducated, don't want to, do anything that will hinder their opportunity, their chance to lose their benefits.
Only in America do we have people that have $1,200 iPhones checking to see if their SNAP benefits hit.
Anyone who's on welfare, not for a disability, but because they can't provide for themselves, should not have the ability to vote in our society.
I don't have kids, but there's no way that I have kids and I'm waiting on somebody else to feed them.
It does, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen a bunch of these. We posted some of these. It's sort of like, think about, you can go back down to a number of years, the Johnson era, right? What was designed to help widows and children ultimately kind of decimated part of our society, specifically the Black community. And you couldn't have a man in the house, the whole drill. And so you actually, prior to Johnson, had a lot of cohesive family units, which were incredibly important for the success of the family. And then along comes this idea that somehow you don't need a man anymore. And while the intention may have been good, initially, what it actually served to do was break up a lot of families and create a culture that has allowed for fatherlessness. That is not good, okay? Like, you got to think through your policy, economic policy and social policy. Like, they got to work together. You got to have the right hand talking to the left hand. They did not do that. Or maybe they did. Maybe, in fact, guys, you know what they wanted? They wanted to create a population of people that would be completely dependent on Uncle Sam so that they would just keep electing him and electing him and electing him and electing him. That's why you got the AOCs of the world that want to take all the money for themselves and fly around on their silly private jets while saying, oh, you know what? We need more money for the government, more money for me, AOC, so I can go out and campaign, so I can give you little people just a little something. It's like Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. And so a lot of men, yes, black men on TikTok and elsewhere on social media are saying, okay, well, this is stupid. This is enough. I've had it. Like, if you're that reliant on SNAP, then we have a problem. And so maybe there's a chance here to really realign things in a positive way for society. And I think that's actually a pretty phenomenal and exciting thing to think about. One other thing I should mention, did you see, we actually did something on somebody, and I believe this one was completely true. Somebody was on her TikTok channel talking about how she was going to steal all this stuff because she couldn't afford it. And that one seems to have been correct. But there were a lot of others that came out that were sort of copycat versions of that. And so I'm just warning you right now, because you always got to be careful what you see, right? And there's been some AI type things out there. In fact, Fox actually, I think, got caught in a little bit of a snafu. A nice reporter over there, a young woman who used to be at Daily Wire, put something out. And you can see why it would happen. So this was her. Do you guys know Brett Cooper? You may not. But anyway, she did this story, from food stamps to felonies. She's a Fox reporter now. And it turns out that I guess not everybody was real. Like, some of this stuff was AI. And it's like amazing. Like, AI has come quite a ways, has it not? So just be on the lookout for that. I mean, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But I think, the bottom line here is that we are seeing more people sort of stand up. It's why you see people standing up in Chicago. It's why you see people standing up in Memphis. It's people saying, okay, you know what? I'm sick of this stuff. I'm sick of the wokeness. I'm sick of the, let them eat cake. And it's the right way to go. I mean, there's been so much brainwashing, right? Brainwashing of everyone. And when you think about how we started this show, and we talked about CBS, and we talked about ABC, and we talked about the BBC, for goodness sakes, you see all this brainwashing happening in real time. And the great thing now is we have a way to fight back against it effectively, a way to fight back because we actually have these new methods and these new mechanisms, right, by which to reach people. There's a good one I wanted to show you because, again, I just think so many people are speaking up in an important way. And I want to show you this one guy who calls it out, like calls out all the baloney, right? He's just like, I've had it. You should have it. And I'd say, you know, this guy, he really gets it. And not everybody does right now. Do I have it? Maybe I don't. Well, I encourage you to go back and look at my shorts feed because, you know, there's just so many individuals that are speaking up. And finally we can. Like, you don't have to be as scared anymore. We've been talking so much about the Arctic Frost investigation right here on this show, and we've learned that they were mapping out something like 30 million phone records. They were mapping out the 440 MAGA world people. They were taking their phone records and investigating them, tolling them, so to speak. It's outrageous, but and they were trying to cut them off sort of financially. They were trying to cut them off, socially, politically, everything you can think of. And it was bad and it was wrong. It was actually one of the reasons why I started my company, 76 Research. We're going to market, let me see, the end of the day, I think a little bit mixed. I think some people are getting a little bit nervous about the Mandamni thing happening. You know, as we talk about socialism, that guy's a really bad dude. And by the way, he lies through his teeth. He told everybody his aunt, remember this one? His aunt was afraid to wear her hijab in New York City after 9/11, only it turns out his aunt didn't even live in New York City after 9/11. So that was all out of nowhere. But we've got an S&P that traded up a little bit today, NASDAQ that traded up 0.5%, Dow Jones Industrial Average ending down a little bit. So a bit of a mixed market here. I think a lot of investors are questioning what the future of AI is, and some people are getting really worried. Rob, my colleague at 76 Research, which, by the way, you should go to and get my letter there, 76research.com. You can sign up for $1 a month for the first 2 months, and it goes to $9.95. You can look at the portfolios, all that good stuff. It's a separate charge for portfolios, but at least try and get the newsletter. We put out a piece the other day because Rob was like, gosh, you know, one of my sailing buddies called me and said, hey, is this AI thing, like, is this going to be a problem? Apparently he had a lot of money in NVIDIA. And I'm not going to give it all away, but we had some pretty good advice for how you should be thinking about all of this right now. And granted, everybody has a different trajectory. Some people are long-term investors. Some people are short-term investors. I encourage you to be a long-term investor. But, you know, we all have different retirement goals. I get it. And that's partly what we look at when we send our message out there. At 76 Research. We also have another one coming today on how you can Mamdani-proof your portfolio. If this guy wins, I don't know what to say, New York. Come on, New York, the financial capital of the world. Guess what? We're all moving to Texas, okay? Texas, yes, because Texas has the Texas Stock Exchange, and Texas is embracing new technology unlike anything we've ever seen. You know, I used to host my show from the New York Stock Exchange every day on CNBC at 11 a.m. And, it wasn't like when my former colleague Maria Bartiromo and friend was first there. When she was first there, I mean, she was getting bumped all around, right? Because there were so many traders. When I was there were a decent number of traders. If you go to the New York Stock Exchange today, there's no one. Okay, there's no one. Things are changing, and they're changing really fast. And I think, you know, Texas gets it, and they've got the right policy in place, right, to embrace this. Mamdani, on the other hand, you know, he thinks he can go out and tax everyone to death because he's of the AOC Bernie Sanders camp. I'm not saying that government should not be there for those that really need it in times of need, right? There are moments when people really need the help, but overall, that should not be the default. That shouldn't be the system that you actually want to put in place. Why was this country founded? To get away from that kind of thing where you had one ruler, the king, that would dole it out right to the people. And the king controlled everything. We were created as a nation to get away from all of that. I'm going to go on a rant here, but moral of the story, do go over to 76research.com. Check out my company there. It's one of the reasons why I started that, really, because things had gotten so crazy and it's like people couldn't see straight. You couldn't invest because, oh gosh, you had to worry about, did this one have enough of an ESG or a DEI profile? I'm sorry. You know what you invest for? You invest for profits. You want profitability. You want to make sure that company's going to still keep growing and growing and growing and growing. And that's why you want it. Anyway, lots of good stuff there. It's great to have you guys all here. I appreciate everything you do because we have been able to grow this channel like nobody's business thanks to your dedication. I see everybody's like, NVIDIA. I know. NVIDIA is awesome, okay? NVIDIA is awesome. I love NVIDIA. It is part of the S&P, so we try in our portfolios to have some things that are outside the S&P, but we write about NVIDIA a lot. And actually, this particular gentleman, as I said, has made a lot of money in NVIDIA, and he's like, what do I do now? Is AI is really going away? And I'll let you go over there. I'll let you go over there and read about it. But basically, I'm going to tell you something. I am really bullish on America. I am really bullish on Donald Trump. I am really bullish on Maganomics, if you want to call it that. I mean, heck, we got inflation coming down. We got technology coming in. And there is so much opportunity ahead. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. I really do appreciate it. And we will be back live again on the Trish Regan Show tomorrow. See you then.